It's Raquel. It's currently July 2nd, 2022. I want to talk for a moment about psychiatric hospitalizations. So, for context, I live in the United States, particularly in Massachusetts. I'm a little biased, I suppose, now because I also work at a psych hospital, and I have for almost 9 months, so there's that. Ultimately, I 100% believe in the psychiatric hospital setting. The main objective of a psychiatric hospital setting is to provide restabilization for the patient to level out, to have distance from their suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts, for a change in medication in a more controlled setting, for the beginning of their story to take place, the beginning of their recovery, because the hospital is not the end of the story, the hospital is just the beginning of the story. That's the starting point of recovery, not the ending. And it also helps to, figure out next steps, next new providers, new, therapists or psychiatrists, or day programs to go to, or sober living, or, even homeless shelters if the living situation is complicated. All of that. It's for treatment. It's for opening the door to learn some of the skills that will help that person in their recovery moving forwards. If they are willing to accept that help, if they are ready to accept that help, if they want to accept that help. Psychiatric hospitals are not like the horror movies. They're not. They are not. We don't have straitjackets. We do use restraints as the last resort. They're not fun. We don't enjoy them. But above all, the number one goal of a psych hospital setting is safety. Safety of patients from themselves, safety of patients towards other patients or to staff, safety of the patient from themselves, safety of the patient to other patients, safety of the patient of the patient to other staff, safety of the staff, and safety is the number one. That's why we do our 15 5-minute checks, or the 1-to-1s even. Or 2-to-1s, sometimes that happens too. Our goal is to keep that person safe. And so when people are feeling unsafe, it is a perfect place for them to go so that they can be safe for a while and then work on those next steps, those next treatment goals, to learning how to keep themselves safe when they feel unsafe and not act on unsafe things when they feel unsafe, like unsafe behaviors and unhealthy behaviors, and then learn how to actually cope and self-regulate and self-soothe in a healthier manner. Psych hospitals are not always terrible places. There are some shitty hospital systems. That's a fact. Not all psych hospitals are run the same. State hospitals can be even worse. A lot of it goes with the funding issues and short-staffed and how much security is involved and all of that. A psych hospital can be a very beautiful place. It can be really chaotic. It can be really acute and intense. And you'll meet the kindest people there. Usually. Unless they're angry. But a lot of the time, you'll meet some really amazing people. And the connection, human connection, in the darkest point in time is so important. I've been doing advocacy since 2016. It is true that in the psych hospital setting, you see them at their worst. And then eventually they're discharged. And you wonder about them and how they're doing. And you hope not to see them again. But if you see them again, you know, work through it kind of thing. But if you don't see them again, hopefully it's for the best. Because they're doing well, they're doing awesome. And they're thriving. And surviving. And they're okay. That's great. That's great, honestly. It is such meaningful work to work at a psych hospital. It honestly can be an honor and a privilege in a sense. Because these are people at their worst a lot of the time. Again, they're there to be stabilized or have bed adjustments or things to that effect, but these people, they hold so much promise and so much potential and so much kindness and compassion and awareness, mainly. And they're just good people. They're such good people. And it's not fair what life did to them. It's not fair. I've been thinking lately about how many people in Massachusetts, in the United States, in the world, how many of those people aren't making it to psych hospitals because they've never made it to a psych hospital because they've taken their own life and they didn't get the chance to live beyond the darkest point in time. I think about how many more patients we could have if everybody got help. And there wasn't a stigma against mental health conditions. There wasn't a stigma against talking about suicide prevention. There wasn't a stigma against people getting help for their brain health. Because some people, the stigma is still so bad that some people would rather be in a casket than have Joe down the street know that they have depression or that they have bipolar type 1 or 2, or that they have schizophrenia, or that they have an eating disorder, or that they have trauma, or that they're thinking of ending their own life when they have everything, so to speak. Or they're going through abuse, or they're being human trafficked, or being in poverty, or being killed off because of racism and terrorism and the most awful parts of humanity. What about those people that we don't see because we just never saw them, or we didn't get the chance to see them? I don't know. Working in a psych hospital is pretty rewarding. It's meaningful work. It's the trick of knowing firsthand and not saying firsthand. Just being sly with it. Like, it'll get better. Cannot tell you why or how I know that, but it'll get better. Being on the other side of a psych hospital experience, having known the patient side, is pretty interesting. I think a lot of people who go into psych is because they've had that themselves, that experience as the patient, or as family to the patient, or something to that effect.
I can see a lighthouse through the smoke. Everything is lost, I know.